Welcome back to The Watch, and it's a solo one for me today because I'm the only one who's watched this film, and as you know from the title, The Grey Man. Grey Man. So, thoughts on the film? Dumb title, dumb ending, actually some decent action scenes, ultimately kind of undermined by the ending. So, it seems like The Grey Man, it's trying to make something in the vein of James Bond, Jason Bourne, maybe John Wick-ish, prodigy, super badass, incredible spy person, but it's a pretty generic thing overall. The main actor it's Ryan Gosling, isn't it? He's basically a charisma black hole in it. Is not a engaging character. That's one of the flaws with they're trying to make something, I don't know. James Bourne was a bit of a charisma vacuum, but he was still all right, and there was more explained for that. And James Bond had heaps of charisma. He was suave and everything, and this is like a more bland character who's a kick-ass guy. You're looking at me, Oz, what?
You called the Gosling a charisma black hole.
In this film he is.
He's stoic and handsome, and he's a legend.
Nah.
He hates cereal.
He obviously didn't get his charisma to come out too much, and that he's capable of doing. There are some legitimate, good, fun action moments throughout the film. A lot of the action in the film is actually enjoyable. It does get undermined a bit, especially for me by the ending, and there are some dumb moments in it, and it's an over-the-top action film, so there are some, of course, stuff that pushes your ability to suspend disbelief. But overall, it's mostly fun. The most interesting character was the bad guy in it, played by Chris Evans. Though I think Chris Evans he tries to push it a bit too far. That's more a subjective thing. He's a bit of a cartoonishly bad guy. But at least he has personality. That's one of the ones that had the most personality in the movie. So, what undermines this film to make it actually decent? And it wouldn't be a phenomenal film. Like, there is nothing that would elevate this film to exceptional. The action is passable, mostly enjoyable, but there are no true themes that resonate deeply and stuff that elevates it to something uplifting and you come out feeling better from it, like Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was just, you've left that film just, it was so cool. And the action pieces in Top Gun Maverick were particularly awe-inspiring, where this is more standard fare. Even if these issues were resolved, it would never become one of those great classics. And then the more that you think about what we are given in The Grey Man, the more problems you find. It's one of those films. You watch it, you can mostly enjoy it, but as soon as you put more thought into it about, okay, what's happening here or there, you find more and more problems, which reveal that the film, or from a technical standpoint in terms of its plot, character motivation stuff, it's not that great. Good action, fun action, plot starts to have issues. And then, of course, there are more subtle, but it's definitely in there, woke crap, okay? Where they go out of their way to unjustifiably elevate their female characters. If they were justified for these female characters to be just as good as this, because the Grey Man, the guy, he's a prodigy. He's supposed to be so insanely good. And they don't really sell that well in the film. Like with John Wick, they sell it because everyone is in awe of John Wick and they're afraid of him. It's like, you stole John Wick's car, he slaps him, what have you done? You've unleashed the Kraken kind of thing. And so they sell it because everyone knows John Wick is this insane prodigy. It's not really sold here, where this guy, by what we see, is this insane prodigy. He's able to take on like 5 to 10 guys at once and still come out on top, even when he goes in unarmed. And so he's utterly insanely talented. He does come across characters that challenge him a bit more than others. And okay, that kind of sets a power level. You see the Grey Man guy, he's really, really good. These other characters then are supposed to be really, really good because they're on a more equal footing. And then there is a female character, well, there's multiple female characters, but there's a female character that is in the film. And it's established that she is not a field agent. She's a person who controls things from the side. So she isn't, like, from the beginning of the film, she isn't supposed to be this insane prodigy badass on the level of the Grey Man. Yet because she's a female, they have her do things of equivalent insane talent as the Grey Man without establishing, in actual fact, contradicting what they did establish about this character. So I have nothing against having, like, a kick-ass female in a film, but you see the the propaganda and stuff like that, because they can't make her weak, or if they make her strong, they don't justify it properly, and they just give it to her for free, Mary Sue-ish kind of stuff. And then, of course, she constantly talks down and beats up the main character, like gets the upper hand on the main character so much, where the point where he feels like he's getting emasculated on screen a bit, because he can't have him get any kind of win or dig back of to the female character, because that would be misogynistic. And then at the very end, there's a massive moment that's robbed from the main character because it feels like woke ideology, honestly. And there's another sign with there's a person of color character who you can predict that they're going to treat a certain way because there's a person of color, and they do that exactly, which makes it very predictable. So those also help undermine the grey man as well. To the point where, at the moment, I'm probably sitting on a 4 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10 for my general review. And I probably would go down to a 3 out of 10 the more I think about it. So that's the non-spoiler, or as much as non-spoiler as I can go. I want to go into specifics now as to what exactly am I talking about here in some of the things that let it down, the issues I have with the ending, and so on. So, spoilers going forward. As I mentioned, there is this female agent who's more of a handler. She organizes things, and she says that she's not a field agent, okay? And yet, she... one moment was just bafflingly dumb. She teleports across the world. Like she is getting interrogated by her, head-up leader guy in the CIA. The CIA guy gets a text alert that the grey man has been found. And the grey man, dumb name, they're like forced in it. You'll exist in the grey. It's like, I've never heard that terminology before. It's like they force it just for the title. But he gets the things like, they found the grey man, right? And it's on the other side of the world. And that sets a chronology that, okay, Ryan Gosling, he is trapped in this location, and they've already passed a certain amount of time. So while this conversation is happening, it shoots back to Gosling being trapped, and they pass time, like a day or two, whatever, as is preparing things to try and break free. But at the end of that kind of, length of time, that seems to be when the CIA agent gets the alert. But even if we were to be generous to say it's not, the fact that she flies from US to the other side of the world, finds where he is, and comes in at just the right moment to save his life, Deus Ex Machina style, felt like she just teleported instantly across the globe. Because the more casual kind of take was that she only learnt of where the grey man was just before he is about to break free. And so it's like she teleported to the other side of the world in maybe 4 hours most. And I was just like, what? So that setup was really bad. And then, of course, she comes in and saves him. And there's this kick-ass guy who's doing great. And then she decides to trank him, throw him in the back of a car, and basically emasculate him. The character that we're supposed to be getting endeared to as this badass and that's not the only time it happens. She's almost there to make him look like an idiot at times, and I don't mind showing flaws with the main character, but it's very much in the tone of woman smart, guy dumb. And because it's maybe like I said with other reviews, if this was considered in isolation, it wouldn't have been an issue. But because of it just falls into that trend with so many media at the moment, where woman smart, man dumb. Like, they're trying to stop this, it's a person of colour assassin guy who seems to be easy, like on par in terms of skill with Ryan Gosling, right? And he was this crazy badass, and they're trying to stop him, and so Gosling throws a gun to the female agent, and she grabs it. She's in a position to stop him, and it's out of bullets, and he threw an unloaded gun. She's like, why did you throw me an unloaded gun? And he said, it's this weird thing, you never throw a loaded gun. It's like, why? He just has this weird standards, like you don't throw, and it's like, I was throwing you the ammunition afterwards, but you ran off, and she's like, you didn't say, and she basically makes him look like an idiot, because it was kind of dumb, and that's one of the times, and then there are other times where, and it's not huge, I think there were two main ones, I'm having trouble remembering a second one, but I remember while watching, it's like, there's a second one, is, she's there making him look like an idiot when he's supposed to be this really competent guy, and he's supposed to be way more competent than her. Remember, she's just a handler. And then at the end of the film, they have her wearing a mask, trying to do the subversive thing to make you think it's him, but it's so obviously that it's her because of the frame, the build, and the mask. It's like, oh, she's just wearing a black mask, you know. And she basically commando styles a massive, like, you know, fortified location with like maybe 100. They show this at other times. There's like 100 guys with guns. There's an airplane. Oh, not an airplane. There's a chopper there, and there's these bunkered positions, and everything. And her Solo just runs at them, wipes them all out. She gets like a rocket launcher, blows up the helicopter and everything. Solo style commando. This is like Arnold Schwarzenegger commando, insane plot armor, badass, destroy everything moment. And it's not justified with her. They didn't build her up to have that level of training. And it would have pushed belief if the Grey Man did it and here's this prodigy, and then she just does it because girl power. And I'm like, what? And then later on, she ends up fighting the person of color assassin guy who was before, the Grey Man and her tried to fight him 2-on-1, and this crazy assassin guy fought them off and essentially won. He got what he was after. He was trying to get this microchip thing. So he essentially beat them both 2 against 1. Okay? And she's supposed to be the less talented of the two between her and the Grey Man. And then at the end, she fights him 1-on-1 and beats him. Mostly beats him. Oh, he kind of wins. But anyway, she holds her ground way too long against him. I'll put it that way. To the point where the power levels are just not being portrayed accurately here. And then because it seems like mainstream Hollywood entertainment media, they feel like they like it's offensive to have a bad person be a person of color. So even though this character is a bad person in the context, he finds out that they might have been threatening a child, and these are not, and therefore they're not honorable men, and he becomes a good guy, and he gives him, and it's like, he was kind of like a good guy all along. And it's like, in isolation, this wouldn't have been an issue, but it's just a growing trend, so much so to the point where you can predict it. And I kind of predicted it in the film when I was watching, like, oh, they're going to make him a nice guy all along thing. And of course, that's what they did. It's predictable now. It's happening so often, it's predictable. Chris Evans is this over-the-top, like, bad guy who will basically do any level of evil, whatever, to get the job done. And torture, kill innocent people, all that, no qualms. I've been mentioning again, if this was an isolated incident, hey, it's a stereotypical bad guy. But you really get the vibes from just the tone, the subtle kind of woke elements in this film, that this is really about, you know, white man toxic masculinity dialed up to 11, and Gosling needs to be shown to be stupid, and he can't really be the kick butt. And this is where one of the big failings of the film is, because they can't really, it's like they're reluctant to let the lead character be suave, charming, and over the top kick-ass, because he has to be talked down and shown to be, he even says it, is like, I'm starting to feel something, or I forget the exact line, but I'm starting to feel a little self-conscious or something for all the times that you're saving me, he says to the girl. I just hope there'll be a time when I can save you. And I was half wondering if that was a setup, that there would be a time where he gets to save, the woman. They don't. It's just throw that line in there because emasculate the main male character lead. And I hate that it becomes so overt that this stuff stands out so much more, where if this was just like a one-off case, you wouldn't really notice it. But it just falls in line with everything else. Then at the very end, they can't let the male lead character win to the point where they take the win away from him, where he's literally about to choke out and beat Chris Evans, and then the female... So this is a different female, right? So you have the female agent that was helping out the Grey Man, and then you had the two CIA people, the main corrupt bad guy, and then he had a female kind of assistant who was also higher up, and she is sent to try and keep control of Chris Evans, and she can't do it at all. She constantly is complaining, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And Chris Evans is just going off insane, making like these massive, broad open daylight terrorist attacks in the middle of France, basically, with massive collateral damage and huge explosions, and this lady is just utterly ineffectual the entire time. at the very end, when Ryan Gosling is about to beat Chris Evans, she comes in and shoots him and takes the win away from him. It's like, okay, so maybe is she turning? Is she switching on to the good side? And so the grey man gets up and is like, get a talk about, and then she shoots him in the leg. And it's like, why do you do that? To make sure you're compliant. And I'm thinking, okay, because the whole plot of the film was that the grey man was sent to kill a supposed bad guy, but the supposed bad guy ended up being a previous agent in the same capacity that the grey man currently is in, and they're offing him because this guy actually found out the corruption in the organisation that the grey man is now a part of. And in the fight to kill this, guy, he ends up getting like a microchip given to him that reveals the corruption of that guy who's running the whole, system, the bad CIA guy. And so the set of the film is to, assumedly, reveal the corruption in the CIA. This, bad guy with the glasses gets exposed and all that. And so you think that's where the film will end. And so the climax of the film is him actually beating the evil Chris Evans agent that is working for him. And is like, what's going to happen next? This female assistant shoots the grey man, makes sure he's compliant, and says, we'll pin everything that's happened on the Chris Evans character, and you'll do what I say, otherwise bad things will happen to the girl. Yes, there's another girl. This is like a daughter kind of figure that the grey man's trying to protect. That is the niece of the grey man's handler, which is kind of like a good guy father figure. The other part of the film was this niece gets kidnapped to get leverage over the handler of the grey man, so the handler will tell them how to find the grey man through the film. And then the grey man finds out that the niece is captured and his father figure, former handler, is thing, and so he tries to rescue them. And part of the defeat of the Chris Evans character is to rescue the niece. And so it's established pretty well that, one, the grey man doesn't like corruption, and he was trying to expose the corruption, and two, if you kidnap his niece, he will go to save her and protect her. And so the female assistant of the bad CIA, this was her plan at the end, is to, all right, everything went to crap. The Chris Evans guy was unreliable. We have the, we don't have the microchip thing yet that exposes the corruption, but she gets it somehow. Oh, because it's all convoluted crap at this point. The female agent that was helping the grey man gets the microchip thing because the badass assassin person of colour gave it to her because they weren't honourable people in the end. But she ends up getting captured and they get the microchip anyway. And so the assistant to the CIA guy is basically saying that you are freakishly good at this, so you'll be an asset, so we're going to keep you alive so we can use you for the future. And to make sure that you do what we say, we're basically going to do everything that made you go rogue at the beginning of the film. Kidnap the niece girl that you wanted to try and save. And, but no, that was basically it. The corruption is still there. All the corruption that made the grey man go rogue, and the guy at the head of the organisation is still there. So she honestly thinks, this assistant to her, thinks that that's leverage to make the grey man do what they say, when it's the same as what made him go rogue in the first place. It's retarded. And so at the end of the film, I'm almost thinking, is this one of those ones that have like a false climax and then there's going to be a second kind of build up to quickly take out this bad guy at the head of the CIA who's all corrupt and everything? And all it does is show the grey man breaking free, saving the niece who's been held by CIA now to try and get leverage, and then the movie ends. And I was like, okay, so the corruption is just as rampant as was before. Is this a build up to a sequel? Well, if it is, I now don't care enough to bother watching the sequel because the resolution of the first film was so unsatisfying that I don't care, and that was all subverted by a lot of other crap in it that robbed what might have been a really fun action film otherwise. Even with Ryan Gosling's pretty bland, stale character with not much personality, if they got rid of some of the crap and didn't have some of the woke crap really, and had a decent ending, this film could have been almost a 6 out of 10, which is actually pretty darn good for modern media these days. And that's it. So yeah, I'm still sitting on maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10, even after looking at it in depth. That is The Grey Man. Have you seen it? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. But But still, like, compare it to some of the best Bond action films. Compare it to, Top Gun Maverick. There's not much there. There's not much there in comparison. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you on the next watch.